Good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you're at. You might be morning someplace, you might be evening someplace. This is Tom Ginn, Elevate Your Profits. And I'm going to bring in my co-host right now, Mark Gassert. And hey, Mark, how you doing, buddy?
Spent a weekend in Greensboro, North Carolina. Back. I'm glad to be back. It's always good to be back at Peachtree Corners. Peachiest place on the planet, as everybody knows. So it's good to be here.
We have a great guest coming in, but before we introduce our guest here in a minute, I'd just like to let everybody know what Elevate Your Profits is about. And Mark, you can expound as well. Our whole platform is to bring cutting edge influencers in business, bringing in experts that can help improve existing businesses. So we're going to be bringing a lot of great people in, like our guest today. But it's all about helping people in business or those desiring to be in business start with Elevate Your Profit from mindset to the bank. We're going to cover everything. Our whole platform is all about helping individuals and businesses improve their bottom line, make more money. So, Mark, go ahead and expound a little bit.
Well, it's okay to have fun during the process, Tom. And, that's something I've been working on with myself. I think sometimes we all get all geeked up and geared up. Everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to do well. And I totally understand that. But you got to be relaxed out there and have fun during the process. I'm sure you'll agree with that. And I know David, looking at his bio here, he's definitely having a lot of fun out there. It's a beautiful thing to see a young man like this, second generation builder, which we're going to find a lot of things about him.
Well, are you ready to introduce him? You want to do a little drum roll or give a little bit?
Oh yeah, I'll just do a real quickie. I'll just let you know that David Belman, man, just so you know what you're dealing with here this evening. This is a guy that definitely has it going on. He is a second generation builder, realtor. Past president of the Metropolitan Builders Association, MBA 2016. And here's one of the things I want to point out. So, Tom, if I say this wrong, let me know. You're from the Great White North, but he's won numerous awards, including 2017 Waukesha Freeman Citizen of the Year Top Choice Award for Best Builder in Milwaukee 6 times in a row. That's pretty cool. 2020 Emerging Leader Award for the same county. And then here's the other thing. He's got a book, Leadership Growth Hacks, which I know you're going to share with us, Tom. He was an Amazon bestseller, so an author. So this is really cool. We got a builder, an author, and we got a young guy out there making it happen, which, with that, I think we just need to bring him on here and he can expound upon what it is he does, how he does it. I will share something with you, which he shared with us behind in the stage there, Operation Find a Home. So we're going to get into that too. And I love talking about stuff like that. That really motivates me. So that's all I have to say.
Well, we're bringing David on, and I'll let David coach on how to pronounce the city he lives in.
Okay.
Hey, David.
Let me hear it, David. Let me look.
There you go,
There
David.
we go. Hi. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody that's on the live stream here. And thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tom. I really look forward to having a good discussion with you. And it is pronounced Waukesha.
Waukesha. Thank you.
Yeah, old Indian name.
Yep.
Yep. So, you kind of thank you for the nice introduction. I appreciate it. I told Tom this story. I don't know if you want to hear the little story of how I got involved in the building industry, but love to share that with you. I've literally lived in the building industry my whole life. So it was in the basement of our house. And so I grew up in the building industry at the dinner table, hearing conversations about home building and contractors and customers. So it became second nature to me, but my career really started at about 9 years old. And I was bored on a Saturday and I wanted my dad's attention. And he was sitting at the kitchen table with the newspaper, reading the newspaper with his feet up on the table, which my mom didn't like very much. And I walked in the kitchen. I said, I got to get his attention. I'm like, Dad, I'm bored, expletiveless. You can kind of fill in the blanks what I said. And I certainly got his attention. He's like, oh, okay, well, follow me. And he took me out to the garage, and I got to go in the truck. And I'm like, oh, cool, I get to go in Dad's truck. That doesn't happen very often. And we start driving. And I'm thinking he's going to go take me to get ice cream or something cool. But instead of turning left to go into town, we turn right, and we start heading off to nowhere. And we drive for a little bit, and then all of a sudden we pull up on a job site. And I'm like, well, you know, this is normal for my dad. We would stop by job sites on the way to something, but we stopped, and he said, get out. I'm like, okay. And he goes around back, and he pulls out a broom and a shovel, and he hands it to me, and he says, start at the top and work your way to the bottom. I'll be back in 2 hours. And he left me there. And so I swept out the house at 9 years old. And, you know, when a little while later, he came and picked me up and took me home, and he gave me a check. And it's actually kind of cool to get a check when you're 9, because that's just like the coolest thing ever. So I learned a lot that day. I learned the value of $1. I learned, you know, value of hard work. I learned I didn't want to sweep houses out the rest of my life. And I learned not to ever tell my dad that I was bored. So, you know, that was a lesson. And I got involved in working on houses and doing all sorts of stuff from that point forward. And then 17 years old, I got my real estate license. I actually wasn't even old enough to officially apply for my license. I had passed my test, because my mom said to me, well, all my friends were out during the summer having fun between high school and college, said, you're getting your real estate license. So that's what I did. I spent 3 hours a night going to real estate class. And then on the weekends, I sat in open houses, 17 years old, trying to sell homes. So I learned from a very early age that I needed to be knowledgeable. I needed to earn people's respect. And, you know, because when people first looked at me, they're like, they're not going to buy a house from this kid. But after I started talking to him and I showed him what I knew what I was talking about, and I was professional, that fairly soon after I started selling houses.
Wow. Started young. We
That's right.
talked on last week on G-Force, the influence of your father and the good hard work ethics. He was never going to let you get bored.
No, yeah, that was yeah, I was brought up in a strict household, but that was okay. You know, it was good. And, you know, he wanted to make sure that, you know, I did things right. So he imparted a lot of lessons on me, but that was definitely a memorable one. And I always share that story. And of course, then my mom kind of pushing me into real estate right away. And the other thing that was neat about that whole thing was I went to college locally at Carroll University, which is a couple minutes from our office. And while I was going to college full time, I sold houses. So when I graduated college, I was debt free, and I actually had enough money to start building my own house. And so I built my own house right out of college. And I also was, after selling for a while too, I started buying some land here and there. So I buy a lot and build a house on it and then sell it. And so that was kind of building me up to eventually become not only a home builder, but a land developer as well. And so kind of doing all those things. So that's kind of how I got started in the real estate industry, and been doing it for 25 plus years.
Hey, David, just real quick, and I'll let Tom go on. It sounds like your dad must have known my dad, because both my brother and I said one summer we were bored. Was that ever a big, huge mistake? Because he worked us for an entire week, and he said he is still bored. Man, when we got up in the morning, we fled from the house, you know. Wow, he put us to work.
Yeah, I think that's imparted in me now, because he's no longer around. He passed away last year, but whenever I was working at the office, I was always busy. So I always had something I was working on, because the last thing I want to do is be sitting around goofing around.
I have to make a comment here. Thanks, Eric.
I'm trying, man.
Either, yeah. Those are some of our colleagues out there, and
I love it. I love the guy that has $100 bills for pants. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, can you get me some of those?
Yeah. Eric, where do you get them at? You know,
Money may not grow on trees, but you can find it on a pair of pants.
pants. There you go.
I love that. We're going to have him get in our program again. He was one of our guests in the past. We'll have him come on and wear.
He was the first. He was number one.
Yeah. So, but David, coming up in the building trades, you've been an influencer in your community. What was the driving force around that? What was some of the principles you have internally to give back to your community, be involved in your community? What was the driving force behind that? What was
So the second part of my story, that's the early part of how I got started in the building industry. And then in the last, 7 or 8 years, I've really pivoted into doing some other things as well. So what kind of happened was, it's a family business, and family business can be tough. And so I had a great relationship with my dad. We worked great together. I also had a partner. So I started a business company with my brother. And the eventual goal was that we were going to take over my father's company. And we worked that way for 15 years. However, I'm very driven. My brother has a different type of drive and motivator than I have. And so after a while, it just wasn't working. I was putting in way more hours, doing a lot more heavy lifting. And he just was into a lot of other things and mostly not related to the business. So and it was an equal partnership for splitting everything except for the work. So I just couldn't deal with it after a while. And I finally had to do something about it. And it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. And it was difficult to deal with and tell mom and dad what I needed to do. And I was so resolute in my position that I had to do this because this was happening right during the great housing recession too. And I knew that if I didn't make a decision, and if I didn't do something about this, it wouldn't matter, because there wouldn't be a company left anymore. Because every little decision can be magnified in a recession. So I made the tough decision, and I was ready to walk away from the whole thing if it didn't work. And I bought them out. And while I was going through all that difficult stuff and that mental stuff, I happened to be at a builder show in Vegas, and I ran into a group, and one of my vendors said, "I'm going to take you to this concert." And I was like, okay, I'll go. I needed something positive. And it was a charity concert for an organization called Operation Finally Home. And Operation Finally Home has an amazing mission. So while I was at the show, they took a break in the middle, and they played a story of a veteran that wanted to serve for 25 years. And that was his life's mission, is just to be a soldier. And he loved doing it. Well, he told the story of how on a routine mission, he was in a vehicle. It drove over an IED, and it blew up, and it flipped the vehicle. His legs were crushed inside the vehicle. And he had people in his battalion inside, and he noticed that the vehicle was on fire and there was ammunition in the vehicle. And this whole thing's going to blow up. So he pulls his mangled legs from the wreckage, and he puts the fire out with his mangled legs on the ammunition. And he has just enough energy to pull himself out of the vehicle before he blacks out. Unfortunately, when he came to, he had to have his legs amputated. And of course, he could not serve any longer. So imagine not only losing your legs, but then, losing the one and only career that you love. And then on top of it, this guy, if the story wasn't sad enough, he had 6 kids at home that he had to take care of. So this man's broken. He's in just a bad place. And then they talk about this organization, Operation Finally Home. They found him, and they surprised him, and they gave him a brand new mortgage-free home. Completely changed his life. It gave him something to look forward to. It took away all the worry of, how am I going to take care of my family? It gave him new purpose, and he did really well. He was on a national radio show for a while. He was on Hawaii Five-0, the TV show, as a guest. It was just great, and it made a huge difference in his life, and that was so inspiring. And then all of a sudden, out on stage, while we're sitting there watching this tear-jerking story, this guy walks out in shorts, metal legs, and a red, white, and blue shirt, and he's pumping his fist, and it's the guy. He's there, And it was just like, oh my gosh, how do I be a part of this? And it was just amazing. And it was only going on down in Texas. And so I was like, how do I bring this up to Wisconsin? And this is the good that I need in my life. And this is something that I can do and make a difference and hopefully build my legacy.
Well, wow. I heard that story the first time that we can't comprehend the sacrifice our veterans make. The ultimate, we're well aware of that. But what he said, even people that come back all physically whole, the sacrifice they make. And then, of course, he made a significant sacrifice, losing part of his body, and just supporting those individuals, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have what we take. A lot of people just take for granted. So I appreciate what you're doing there.
And one of the things that I never realized, we just live sometimes in blissful ignorance, right? And I never really, you just think, oh, the military, they're taken care of, and if something happens to them, the government's taking care of them. And that's not really true. They are taking care of a little bit, but in those kind of situations, there isn't nearly enough that our government's doing or anyone's doing for them. And it's really cool to see private organizations and charities come together and do this. So this is a legit brand new home. It's a new house. It's not a little tiny home or anything. This is like a normal home that I would build, and they're giving it to them completely free of charge. So what I do is I work with my trades, and I get as much material and labor donated from them as possible. And then we put on events and we do fundraising, and it's amazing. I did one, and it was such a great cause that I decided, hey, let's do this again. And we announced we're doing a second one. And like 3 days later, it was in the newspaper, and someone saw it, and they said, wow, we really love what you're doing. How much money do you need for the second home? And I'm like, well, probably about $150,000 is what we need to raise. And he said, well, you've got it. And he's like, if you get this money, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to do another one. And he's like, that's exactly what we want to hear. And he didn't know this at the time, but there was another family that we were trying to help, and I couldn't help them because we didn't have the right site for them and everything. So I knew in the back of my mind this other family, and they really needed it. So it was really great to know that, hey, I could go out and help even more people. And now we've done 6 of them, and we're on planning for number 7.
Wow. That's incredible. So is that your goal is to do one a year, or are you looking to expand that as well?
Well, so Operation Flying Home is a national organization, and then we're obviously very active here in Wisconsin. So my goal is to do one every year, and we've been able to keep that pace. And believe it or not, like, it's started down in Houston, Texas, and it's about a 15-year-old organization. Wisconsin is now second on the list for a number of homes built, compared to Texas, where it was founded. So I'm pretty proud of that. And we're able to keep that mission going. And yeah, we're going to keep it going as long as possible. And it's just a great thing. And things like this, the passion, the energy behind it, and the amount of people that are helping out is phenomenal. And we want to keep her going.
Wow. Well, thank you, David. And so that's a great call. We put this information on operationfinallyhome.org. Anybody that wants to look into supporting that cause and that mission, no matter where you're at, David's here in Wisconsin. I'm sure he would like to support a project here, but this is a national program, right, Dave?
Yeah, you can donate a lot of different ways of support. So you can just go to the website, and if you do want it to go to Wisconsin, you can just put in the comments Wisconsin Builds, and it goes right to our projects. Otherwise, you can also look up families, and you can see all the stories of these great individuals, and you can always donate to a particular project. But yeah, obviously appreciate if you send some to Wisconsin so we can do another project. And we're pretty far for the next build for fundraising, but we still have a ways to go. So we definitely have more needs. And unfortunately, the cost of homes is getting more and more expensive every day. And so it makes the job harder every single time.
Yeah. So
that's tremendous. And I commend you for doing it. What Tom was saying, I just throw in my 2 cents. I know Tom served, I've served, and a lot of people think that when these ladies and gentlemen return that are wounded or whatever, or they need assistance, that the government takes care of them. And it's kind of like they get put back up on the shelf and say, thank you very much for your contribution. And that's about it. And that is fantastic. You're doing what you're doing.
Well,
I
it's my
salute you.
pleasure, and I know we're talking on Tom's show, G-Force, about gratitude and being grateful for our veterans and what they do for us, and this is the least we can do, and I'm proud to be able to lead it. And I was really in a very scared place when I agreed to do this. I had a 2-hour car ride home after I agreed to do this, and I was sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, what did I do? What if I fail?
Right.
Oh my gosh." And, I started telling people, and I shared the story, and people were coming up to me left and right, like, yep, I'm willing to do this. I want to help. And I was like, wow, okay. I started as one, and all of a sudden I have a task force of 15 people, and I've got other companies and things involved donating. So it's been great. And,
Cool.
it's been a little tough this year with COVID. I'm not going to lie, because we had to lose a lot of our in-person events, but we got a great golf outing coming up in September, and some other fun things planned. So yeah, it's going to keep going.
Well, thank you for that contribution. And that shares, I think when we see that demonstration of givers gain, and you're not looking to get any accolades or pad your pocketbook or anything like that, but you have that heart, and I think that's important for people to know that.
Right.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where it was truly like, I just want to give back and do this. And so, I didn't expect anything in return. I'll get some little awards and things, which are nice. And those are always rewarding. But the biggest reward is the day you hand the keys over to the family, and you get to see them walk through their new house and the looks on their faces. And, even though this is really hard and it's a long way there to get the project going and stuff, that makes it instantly rewarding, and you want to just do another one right away. So we just love it. And there's all sorts of videos out there too. You can just go onto YouTube and look up like OFH Wisconsin, or look up our Operation Filing Home in Wisconsin. You can see us surprise the family. You can see us turn the keys over. We do a really cool dedication. We bring the police and fire departments locally out. We hang a 50-foot flag from the fire truck, and we drive the family underneath, and they see their new house, and the community's there clapping and cheering for them. It's just amazing. So it's a wonderful thing.
Do they know this is going to happen beforehand? Are they aware of that, or do you?
Yeah, well, they don't know when they get chosen for the home. We do surprise them with that information. So yeah, typically it gets on the news and stuff. I've probably been on the news probably 30 or 40 times with this, in different, actually it's been in different markets too. One of our surprises, they aired it in like 30 states. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know. So we surprise them. And then after that, they know obviously what's going on. So we do community events, which are free. People can come out. So we do a groundbreaking, which is a really nice ceremony. Right before we put the shovels into the ground, we invite out a lot of politicians. We had the governor out at one of them, which was great. And then after that, the house gets framed up, and we do an event called Notes of Love, where we have the community come out and everybody that's supported the cause, and they write a personal note to the family on the studs of the home. And then we bring the family out the next day, and they get to read and see all the love that's been given and put into this home. And that's a really moving event. And then we do the dedication, which is where we kind of parade them in, and we have a nice ceremony in front of the home, and then we do a ribbon cutting and walk them through their new home. So it's pretty amazing stuff.
Wow. Let's I'd like to, ask you a question here, moving into the business. You growing up in a family business, all the challenges that gave, all the rewards it gave as well. Because I'm sure, you lots of times we look at the downside, but look at all the rewards. Look what your dad gave you, that learning experience and building being part of building a pretty significant developer in the area, and a great reputation, and that type of things. In business, because want to talk about business. You're associated within the community with other business leaders. What would you make a recommendation for anybody out there in business about connecting, irregardless of, I'm a builder, but
Sure.
Building
Yeah.
relationships in your community as a business principle, is that, I know that's part of what you do as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the saying, and maybe it's cliche, but you're as wealthy as your network, and you're only as good as your network, and that's very true. And I've been in the business for a long time, but I felt like I kind of wasn't really getting any further for a long time. I was putting in a lot of work and working hard, but I wasn't working hard at the right things, if you know what I mean. And
mhm.
so kind of after I went through all this challenge of taking over the company and dealing with the buyout, and then I was really putting a lot of time into building the business the right way. And I love my dad, and he was great, but he liked to be out in the field talking to the trades, and I was kind of in the back end, making the business work. And so I started to learn to systemize my business, and I started to do some of those things. And then I knew, because if I wanted to do anything else besides build homes, I was going to need to have my business work more efficiently without me, constantly there putting out every single fire. So that's kind of where that came from. But then also the other thing that I started doing is I did understand about connecting with people. And I use LinkedIn a lot. I'm very heavily, engaged in that platform.
Right.
So I do connect a lot on LinkedIn, but and I share what I'm doing because I want people to know, hey, this is what I'm working on. I'm proud of what I'm doing. But networking face to face and just connecting through that platform and sharing what I'm doing, and then giving back too, and letting people know, hey, these are some things that I learned, and I wish I would have learned these things 10 years ago or 20 years ago, because I couldn't imagine where I'd be right now. And my biggest growth was in the last 5 to 7 years, when I became conscious about my leadership skills, when I became conscious about my self growth, and I decided to start working more on myself than just on my business. And that's really where I think the big difference came.
We talk, Mark, and we'll banter back and forth here. We talked about that last week, and I think, would you agree or expound on this, that a lot of people in business, they make the investments I call the wrong things. We need systems, and we need processes, we need marketing, we need all these things. But myself being a business coach, I see there's a deficit in people in business or in leadership not making the investment in themselves, in coaching or getting mentors. Do you see that as a challenge out there as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people just think, well, I'll make an awesome business, and I graduated high school, or I finished college, and I'm done. I'm done learning. I don't need to learn anymore, and that's the exact wrong mentality, in my opinion. You need to constantly be learning. And one of my mentors, I did work with the business coach for many years, and he always had a saying, and he said that you're like a tree. You're either growing or you're dying.
Right.
And a tree never stays still. It's either going to get bigger or it withers away. And that's how we are as people as well. So you want to, make sure that you're growing. And so that means investing in yourself, reading or listening to audiobooks or watching videos. It's vitally important that you do that, every day, and set aside time for that, and read good quality material. So whether it's, a book about business or marketing or just personal growth, sales, whatever it is, make a commitment to that, and you'll find yourself in a year. It may take a little while. Don't think that in a day or two you're gonna get everything you want. But if you spend time, like if you read every day, it's like getting
Right.
another college degree in a year. If you read a book a month, it's the equivalent of another college degree.
Here we go. We got a question, if you don't mind. This is Ernest. Hi,
Yeah.
thanks, Ernest, for making a comment and asking.
Yep. Good job, Ernest.
Do you see
I see the question.
there?
So yeah, you want to know if we can, if I build homes for wheelchairs and ADA accessible? Absolutely. And as part of Operation Finally Home, the homes are tailored around the veterans' needs. So the one home that I, kind of was waiting on to help, and then when we got that extra donation, his prognosis, unfortunately, he has advanced Parkinson, and
Wow.
he was somebody that when he came to us, we knew we really needed to help him, and the prognosis was within a year to year and a half, he was going to be in a wheelchair. And so we got that thing going for them. And yeah, we had a ramp in it, and we had accessible bathrooms and grab bars and all sorts of stuff. And so that really helped them. And for my business that makes me money and pays the bills, I have built accessible homes before. I built chair ramps. I built wheelchairs, or not wheelchairs, but elevators in homes and all sorts of stuff like that. So we have done that several times, and we're definitely not perfect at it, but we are competent in it. And I do have a certification, certified aging in place specialist certification. So definitely can help with that.
Wonderful. Yeah, because we all get old, don't we?
Yeah, it stinks some days, and things hurt more, but a lot of people want to stay in their homes as long as possible. So sometimes there's some aesthetic things we can do to make the house last longer and be more comfortable for people for many years.
I have a question around that, Dave. People more conscious about, their end of life or what they're going to do. Do you see people building their homes with that long-term projection of, I'm going to live in the home, I'm, in quarters for help and support? Do you see a lot of people moving in that direction in their home?
Yes,
building?
sometimes. Yeah. Every once in a while you'll have somebody come in, they're really young, and they're like, yeah, I want to make sure we're going to, live in this house the rest of our life. And sometimes you kind of think that's a little too early, but,
Right.
I mean, if somebody's got this really epic lot that's, a lot of acreage and beautiful woods, they may not ever want to move again. So then you want to make that home last as long as possible. So that makes sense. But we do a lot of condominiums as well. So that's a big focus for a lot of those folks, as well as, curbless showers and wider entry door and maybe a ramp somewhere and things like that. So some of the stuff doesn't have to be super obvious. But yeah, there's certainly things that we can do to make sure that home lasts, a lot longer and make it more livable for anyone.
Yeah. So that's going to lead Mark. Anything you want to expound and ask Dave? Any questions?
No, I was just going to ask him. You're doing all these things, which is tremendous, and I totally salute you, applaud you. I think that's outstanding. And
by the way, thank you, Sandy. Appreciate it.
What gave you the idea to do this?
Thank you, Ernest. To do what? To do Operation Fly Home?
Yep. What kind of kicked in for you that you said, you know what, I need to get involved with this? Did you know somebody? Did you learn of something?
I mean, there's kind of two things. I was I experienced it firsthand, seeing that veteran, and so that was part of it. But there was a fear of, how do I do this? And it was down in Texas. And if Texas homes are about half the price, if not even less than what a house costs here in Wisconsin. So I'm like, how the heck am I going to do this? So, while I was kind of going through this personal journey in growth, you kind of want to challenge yourself and things. And some of the stuff with Operation Fly Home that was really cool is that they did a really good job of sharing these stories and doing videos on it and stuff like that. And I thought that was really a cool thing to do. And, I kind of have a little talent of putting events together that I didn't realize I had. So I was at actually, this is the last part of the story. I was at my state builders meeting. It's and it just so happened that day, one of the leaders resigned their position, and I saw this group huddled over in the corner, and then they looked at me, and then they came over by me, and I'm like, what's going on? And they asked me if I would jump into the leadership role. And they kind of said, well, since his term's almost over already, you can jump in early and you can kind of get to the top of the line faster and save like a year. And I was like, oh, that kind of appeals to me. So I said yes. And I led the State Builders Association. Later that day, they had a presentation, and a guy came in and saying they wanted to build a home for an organization that supports veterans in the Milwaukee area. And all of a sudden it was like, ding, 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 like this. And this is exactly, I'm the only person in this room that knows about this. And I'm in the Milwaukee area. Out of all these people in all the places, it was kind of like everything just kind of came together. And so I before the meeting was done, I stepped up and said, I want to build that house. And that was my 2-hour car ride home. And I had all those all those panic thoughts. But, the first person I told was my dad. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's going to kill me. He's going to say, what the heck are you doing?
Right.
And he was so excited and proud, and he had served as well. And he just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I told my team. And another funny story, I'll make it quick. I had one person on my team where I'm like, this guy could wreck the whole thing. And I'm like, I'm going to tell it. And if he says something and is negative, like everybody's going to just be upset. And I told the story of what I wanted to do and what it was all about. And all of a sudden he puts his hand up in the meeting and I'm like, oh boy, here it comes. And he goes, David, I would be honored to build that home for this veteran. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then like the whole office was like, yeah, we want to do this. And I was like, okay, here we go. And it was just amazing.
Well, cool. I'm sure you probably had other builders and people approach you, subcontractors and all sorts of different, people you're affiliated with in the building business come up to you now. I would imagine. Is that correct?
I've been asked, I've talked to some other builders from around the country if they have questions or things about Operation Fly Home. Locally, no, I think because we've done so many and we've had such a following that, they've just kind of said that's his thing and just let him do it. They don't even want to touch it because I think I'm pretty firmly entrenched in it. But yeah, it's, I've helped other builders and I've explained it to other people. And sometimes they just have questions like, how did you do this? Or how do I do that? So I definitely have been willing to jump in. And I saw a question in there about, am I salaried through Operation Fly Home? Absolutely not. I donate all my time. I donate my staff's time. So it's definitely not a moneymaker for me at all. It is all just donation. And it is a 501c3. So Operation Fly Home is a 501c3. And again, it's based down in Houston, Texas. So the funds, when people donate, they go down to Texas, but they get earmarked, especially if you mark it for Wisconsin, or if it comes from Wisconsin, like if it's a check and it comes from Wisconsin, it goes to the Wisconsin builds.
That's great.
Oh, thank you for answering that question for everybody out there.
That's beautiful, David.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. Appreciate it.
We have another person from the real estate industry. He's in California, the San Jose area. So
Charles Coachman.
Charles, how you doing, buddy?
Hello.
Glad to have you here, Charles.
Thanks for joining in.
Yeah. So we're coast to coast right now. So we're from Georgia to San Jose, California. Thanks, Charles, for coming on. And
thank you.
Share this out because David is, his story and his business. We're going to talk about what he does in business here around his book here in a moment. But Operation Finding Home is a great organization. Dive into it, find out what it's all about. And if it tugs your heart, make that commitment. Give to where your heart wants to give.
Yeah, and I'll add one last little plug for it, in that they have a very great expense ratio. So they here in Wisconsin, when we receive funds, 98% goes into the build. So it's almost fully utilized because everybody here is volunteering. So like I said, nobody in my group profits off of this. There are some expenses, of course, like all charities have, but we give a lot nationally. Just if you just give to the national, which is fine. It's like in the 80% range, but locally, if we get something like for an event, it's 98%, which is great.
Great.
Awesome.
Wow. Well, David, what we want to do is, because you've been in business and the wealth of trial and error experience, influences, those type of things, what caused you, before I get into the book, you're associated with this is how I met you, was Young Guns.
Yes.
Share everybody what Young Guns is, sort of on the same profile we're doing. But you guys are
talking about this. No.
You're Hollywooded and out there. So
yeah, I'm involved in everything. If there's something going on, I'm probably involved with it in some way. No. So Young Guns was something that started about 2 years ago, and Paul Newberger, the cold call coach, had seen some of the stuff I was doing for Operation Fly Home. He thought it was really cool. And he had this idea to put on an amazing event with business leaders and break the rules of business and find people that do things different that no one else does, and share the story and share the learnings with them. So he called me and said, "Hey, I want to put on this really cool conference. I want to get a ton of people in the room, and I'm going to speak at it, and I want you to speak at it." And I kind of always wanted to get into speaking, so that was interesting to me. And he didn't think I was going to say yes, and he told me about it. It was a cool concept, and he was so energetic. I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. So we brought another gentleman by the name of Andy Wines, Army veteran as well. He's a speaker and does a lot of cool things as well. And so we said, let's make this a business. And the idea was to put on one event, and we got into it and we put on this amazing event. The feedback was just phenomenal. It was kind of like a Tony Robbins kind of thing, but so it was inspirational, educational, high energy. And we got the surveys back after the event, and it was just through the roof, awesome feedback. And everyone's like, "What's next? What are you doing next? What are you doing next?" And we're like, "Okay, I guess this is a legit business too." So, we are like, let's do quarterly events, and so we're going to do that. And then COVID hit, so we started doing virtual quarterly events, and then hopefully in person main events, and then when COVID hit, the other thing we realized was that how are we going to stay relevant when you can't have in-person events? And so we decided to create this program called YGTV. And YGTV is a free resource for the business community. It's hosted on YouTube through the Young Guns movement. And you can go on there and you can watch all these great shows. So each week we release a brand new show on YouTube. They're 20 to 30 minutes. And they're for the business community. They're completely paid for by our sponsors. And you can hear from prominent CEOs in the area and what it took for them to be successful. You can hear aspiring speakers deliver brand new material you've never heard before. You can do my show, which is called YG Workshop, where I take a business that's having issues, and I have a panel of experts, and we help work them through a problem that they're dealing with. And then we also have one called a YG Roundtable, which is where we take a topic like what's trending in social media right now, and what's an way to take advantage of it. And we have that as a topic. So there's all sorts of different things, and you can learn on every single one of them. And it's been great. So we do YGTV as well, and it's been just a phenomenal experience, and it's created a lot of new opportunities and a way to kind of position ourselves as people that lift others up and make a difference and help develop our future leaders.
Yeah. Is there an age requirement for Young Guns?
No, we get people asking us that all the time, and Young Guns is not an age, it's a state of mind. And it's for those people that want to do business different, that they want to make their own rules of business, people that, just don't, follow conventional wisdom. And so there's a lot of people that are Young Guns that aren't maybe in the age bracket of being young, whatever you consider young. But we have a guy that's been on the program, and he's 60 some years old. He started a brand new business, and he's killing it right now. And he's a Young Gun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're all Young Guns. It's all here, right? It's all right here.
Absolutely. So, it's a state of mind. And so,
there you go.
I think we battle that a little bit, from an image standpoint, but we're very diverse too. I mean, we have a lot of diverse speakers, and that's been important to us. So, we've had just about every type of person on the program already. And we're conscious about that. And we want to make sure that we're including anybody that's doing anything amazing.
Well, Ted just put up something here, so I'm going to have that. Ted, you can reach out to David, his email and everything there, to have some dialogue about that generous offer. So that's great. That is great.
Maybe you can help at an event or something. It depends on, if you're in the trades or something, people that way too. That's always helpful for people to donate materials and labor.
Great. Thanks, Ted. Appreciate you much. Share this out. That shows you the quality people that are out there.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So the Young Guns movement, I attended your first event. 2 weeks later, we had the shutdown. So I'm glad that.
Oh yeah. Oh man, if that was 2 weeks later, we were in trouble.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paul and that great group of people. So you're out there supporting your community, the local businesses, and of course your reach is more than just local now. So
Yeah, no, we've brought in some national talent. I mean, we had Martin Lindstrom, who maybe you don't know, but if you look him up, you'll be like, holy crap. But Martin Lindstrom is a 7-time New York Times bestselling author.
Wow.
And we had him on our last event, and 45-minute keynote from the guy who helped turn around Lego, Burger King. I mean, this guy, he's been on the Today Show 30 times. So this guy is literally one of the most legit business gurus and branding guys you would ever meet in your life. And we had him on our program. So it's amazing where this can go. And we're excited to see the future. And the other thing that happened with Young Guns that was really neat, obviously, besides meeting Tom here, was that, when I finished my speech, I tried to make my speech uplifting and informative, and brought the energy at the end. I had a bunch of people come up to me and say, "Where's your book? I want your book. Don't you have a book on this?" And I was like, "I'm working on it." And I had been, but not really very seriously. So at that point I knew I have to do this. I need to be intentional about it. And I've wired my mind, when I see an opportunity, I go after it. Right. And I do something about it. And so I created Leadership Growth Hacks. It just came out 2-3 weeks ago. Very lucky to be an Amazon bestseller. It hit the bestseller list, and it's a book that's made to help people unlock their true potential, develop their leadership skills, become more effective communicator, and look at things in a different way. So be one of the biggest things that I put in the book that was impactful to me was from a speaker that I heard, and he said, "You got to think about your legacy." And I didn't think much about that early on in my life. And I took it a little different. I thought, what would people say about me when I was gone, when I was dead? What would people think about me? And back at that time when I had that thought, I didn't really care for the answer. I wasn't really impressed with what I had done in life. And I thought people would say, well, he's a nice guy, good builder. And it's kind of meh to me. I was like, that doesn't move the needle. I wanted people to say, David's a leader. David's made a difference in the community. David helps and lifts other people up, and he's a good builder and a husband and a father. And that sounded a lot better to me. So I made it my mission to work on my legacy. And so that's a big part of what's in the book, and changing your perspective on what you're doing and why you're put here.
Yeah, I was going through the book after I got it, and you've got some great stuff in here about, getting the right perspective, how to take and put things into process. It even has a little bit of workbook in here
yes.
too. So
practical stuff. And this is all stuff that I've used and done myself. So I know it works. It worked for me. I know it'll work for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. How would people get a hold of this book? I guess the big question would be Amazon.
Yeah, you can order it on Amazon. It's available as a Kindle version, or you can order the print copy that you have in your hands there. And you just look up Leadership Growth Hacks. For some reason, it doesn't always come up number one. It's on the first page, but there's a couple other leadership books, but it's Leadership Growth Hacks. You'll find it on there, and you can order it. And usually it comes within 2 days, the print version, and the Kindle you can crack open right away. So it was great, and I've been really grateful for all the support of it already, and to be able to get on the number one list. I actually hit number one on 4 categories when it first launched, which was awesome. And sales with books I've learned it's a lot harder to sell books than it is houses. So I'm learning some things about that, but it kind of dipped down a little bit. But we've every time I do something like this, we sell more copies, and I know I'm helping people, and the feedback's been awesome on it. We've got a whole bunch of 5-star ratings. So Tom, make sure you go onto Amazon and give me a good review.
We'll do. We'll get the reviews in. So, I know Mark is, we're not in a hurry to do anything, but we just want to keep an eye on the clock here for Mark. I know Mark, tell David what you do here.
Oh my. Well, other than sales training, believe it or not, don the tools of ignorance and stand behind a 17 by 17 by 17 piece of rubber called home plate and
Oh, nice.
called balls and strikes.
Good
So
for you.
tonight will be like the older guys, and it's always fun to do that. That's a different eye, as they say. I'm
Oh,
totally a
absolutely.
different person
That's
when
a
I'm
different
doing that.
skill. It's a tough
Yeah.
one to
Oh
have.
yeah. It's a lot of fun sometimes. You ought to try it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be good at that.
Yeah. It can really test your mettle, so to speak, when
Oh,
you're
for
out
sure.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
David, being in business and having a company, and I don't know how big your organization is. I know I met some of your people, your book signing and that. So I don't know how big your company is as far as employees, but as a business person, what is the thing that you want to make your organization be as effective and productive and all the things a company wants? What is it that you bring in, to the table to build that strong, powerful team? What is your number
Sure.
one management principle?
Well, I think it starts with a great company culture, and that was one of the things that I built early with Belman Homes when I started to kind of transform it and take it over. My dad didn't believe in that stuff or understand it, but every company has a culture, whether it's written down or not. So that was a big thing that was important to me. I do talk about that in the book, and it was really important. So when we built our culture, um, I raised the bar, and I don't think I realized how high I raised the bar when I did this. And it was a good thing though, because there was a couple people in the company that thought this culture and this idea was stupid. And what happened is it kind of separated the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. And so some of the people in my company were extremely inspired by it, and they rose to the occasion. And I had a couple others that became obvious that they weren't going to be a fit anymore for the organization, and it upped our game, and our culture inspired other people to come in. So we had neat people apply to our company that really liked what we were about. So I kind of had a jump on my competitors for hiring, and we don't just write culture down. This isn't something you just write down and slap on a wall and go, okay, done. This was an active process. So I met monthly with our team, and we enforce the culture that we have, and we talk about different points of culture. And it's been woven into our company, and it's a big part of what we do. So that's a big part of it. And then you kind of touched on the systems a little bit, which is really important. If you're going to do something more than one time, make it into a system so that other people can follow along. Tom, I know you've met some of my people. I do have some younger people at my company, and we like that because we can teach them, and we have training and stuff, and it allows them to get in and hit the ground running a lot faster. And so I don't worry about hiring the person with the most knowledge. I find the right people and the right personality, and then I teach them the skills. And so that's how I work it. And so I'm all about fit. I talk a lot about personality in my book and determining people's personality. I test everyone's personality before I consider hiring them, because I want to know what their motivators are. I want to know how they learn, how they make decisions, and are they a good human being or not? Because if they're a good human being and there's somebody that people like to be with, life's too short, man. You don't want to work with jerks. You don't want to work with people that make trouble. So yeah, find good people, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, it's your company. Your
It's
company
my
is your
company.
people, and
Yeah.
it's only as good as your people.
If
And
I
so,
ever don't want to go to work one day because of a person there, then that's the wrong person. They got to go. Or you have to have a talk with them, and they got to fix it really quick. But yeah, it's all about the people. And I learned the lesson the hard way. Once I hired somebody kind of quickly, even though I had this in place, and after about 2 weeks, I realized this was not a fit, and they were gone almost instantly. And hire slow but fire fast.
yeah,
Yeah,
fire slow, fire fast.
yeah.
When I had
So,
my company and it had a team of people, that was instilled. Make sure people are tied to a vision, tied into your family. And
yep.
how do you
I'm
make
not
that
looking
work?
for people that want a job. I'm looking for people that want to be part of this great team and learn a lot and develop and do great things. And Anybody that is going to leave and not take an opportunity with me because I won't hire them on the spot, well, they probably weren't a fit anyway. So
Yeah. And that's a challenge for any organization is getting the right people. And then once you got that culture, they're not leaving. Most of them, they're going to hang with you, right?
Yeah, it helps with loyalty, and that's what brought us a lot of awards and recognition, and good reviews and all that, because we raised the bar, and where most of my competitors are looking at how do I do, build the cheapest house or the fastest house. We were like, how do we take care of our customer and give them the ultimate building experience? And that's what we're about. And so we know we're not ever going to be the biggest builder in town. I don't care about that. That's not what I want to do. I want to provide a great experience and an awesome home for people. And that's our mission, and that's what we do.
Okay. Mark, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Well, you talked about your book here. I do have to go back to culture. I mean, it gets thrown around a lot. And the older I get, I don't know if I get wiser, but I love that word culture. It's kind of like, since, I'm involved with sports, you can't buy it.
Yep.
You can't buy culture. I know some people think you can, but
it's
an
intangible.
It's self-destruct, because you got to have people that get along. And that's a big hot button for me. Maybe you have differences of opinion, and maybe you don't love one another, but there's got to be a certain amount of respect for the other. You mentioned it, human being.
Yep.
I've been in some situations where I've seen managers just obliterate people and say it's your fault. And, it's like a horror show to watch it.
Accountability is a big part of it.
Right.
Being personally accountable. You do have to, still, be an effective leader and lead by example. And,
sure.
I'm the first one to take blame if something goes wrong, and I don't go after people if they make a mistake. Mistakes are opportunities to learn. Now, if they keep making the same mistake over and over again,
sure,
that's different. But it's sometimes the most talented football teams don't win the Super Bowl, or they win the Super Bowl rather because they have great team chemistry. They may not be the most talented team out there, but they work together and they care about each other, and they're all in it together. Those teams can supersede a highly talented team that's of individuals,
Right.
And it's the same thing with the company. A great team, great culture. Look at like Quick Trip, for example. They have, a very specific, vision, and they're about, everybody's owner of the company, and that creates a totally different level of accountability and brings a different type of person in. Look at how fast they're growing. They're growing like crazy. So culture matters. It really does.
Yeah, that those that don't know what Quick Trip, they're a convenience here. I don't know where they spread. They're pretty big. Quick Trip, great company.
I got one right down the street from us. It's a great place.
Yeah, they added like every year in Wisconsin they had 30 to 35 new stores every year. Like they've exploded. They're everywhere in Wisconsin. So fantastic company. That's culture for you.
Right.
Can I share that story about Quick Trip and what I experienced with culture? This blew my mind.
Sure.
Is I went in one day and I got something to eat, and I went to the counter and I opened my wallet. I didn't have any money in my wallet. I'd left it on the counter at home. And the guy behind the counter, his name is Tom. And I go, oh my gosh. And I looked, I said, I went out to my car, see if I had any cash in my glove box, no cash. And I don't carry a credit card or anything like that. So he said, and I came back, no, I haven't got it. And he says, he went to his own wallet, pulled out $5, and he paid for it. And he says, I know you're good for it. And that was the end of it. And two hours later, I was back giving him back his money. So, but that just shares you that they go above and beyond to make that experience. That was the best consumer experience
That's fantastic.
I think I ever had.
Yep. Yeah, and it's those little things. It's those moments of, when somebody's vulnerable or make a mistake, or I see that all the time when people are buying houses, and sometimes the people that I'm dealing with while they're building a home and the people that they become after they live in the home are two different things, because people are under stress while they're building. And so,
Sure.
I mean, I've seen it, it's like, wow, these people are super nice. And then we're building their home and they move into an apartment and they go kind of crazy. And then they get in their new home and they're the nicest people you ever met again. And so you don't know how something's affecting people. And so we try to be cognizant of that. And I've had customers come to me and go, yeah, I know I was really a big bear during the build. And, but we love our house. We love you guys. You guys are great. Don't think that we didn't love you. We just were going through a hard time. And
Yeah.
get kind of used to it, but that's where these wrinkles are coming from here.
Come on now, I got wrinkles, Dave.
Wrinkles. This guy's the young blood here.
Yeah. So I just encourage, David in this book is life experience, business experience, how he's developed himself and his business around these principles. And it's, there's so many books out there. But as I was going through here, there's some things that, I wish I would have known that or applied that differently in my life and in business. So it's a great read, but more importantly, it's not just a great read, take it and put it to work, because up until that time, it's only good information, right? So
yeah, and I tried to make it, again, like I said, it's very practical. So it's got a lot of things that I know worked for me in my life, and there's some tools in there to help. And it's one of those things where you can read the book, but you've got to kind of apply some of the things and maybe go back. So I kind of just went through my journey. It was like, the first thing is I had to overcome fear. So I talk about some ways to overcome fear. Because if you want to do something great or something big, you got to, tackle it. And like for me, once I went through that ownership issue, and that was the most difficult thing I figured I'd have to ever do in my life. And I felt like if I could deal with that, I can do anything. I could build a house for free and give it to a veteran. What the heck? I already did this. And so it empowered me. It was very empowering. Sure. And so that's kind of where I got through that. And I kind of walked through that process. And I really like the personality stuff too. I'm kind of a geek for that. So, especially when I was 17 years old, sitting in a model, and you tell somebody one thing and they would respond to it, and then you tell someone else the same thing and they wouldn't. It's like, gosh, why is it, that was good stuff. Why didn't they like it? And so I learned to understand people's learning behavior and personality. And I am not the person that invented, personality profiling or disc profiling. But what I've done in my book is I've kind of taken that information that I've learned, and I've said, here's how you use it in a sales situation. Here's how you analyze somebody, and here's how you put it to use and make money for you. So that's where I think I add the value in. I definitely didn't invent that. That's been around for a long time, but it seriously works, and it works amazingly well if you apply those principles, and you can learn to analyze somebody very quickly.
Mark, I know you're looking at your clock there. I know you got.
No, I'm good. I have to laugh here. So you're talking about analyticals, assertives, amiable, animateds. This is what I involved with. We teach, corporate America or small business or, entrepreneurs that have their own deal. And it's just funny to hear you talk about personality, because it does make a difference if you understand it.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you're not in a sales situation, to know and understand how people make decisions. If you're a leader, you should darn well know it as well, because, you may, if you do have to deliver bad news to somebody, or you have to discipline somebody, if you can understand their personality and how they receive information, that can be handled a lot better. Or for me, like for Operation Fly Home, I'm convincing people every day. I have to convince people that it's a worthy cause and that you should give to it. And so, different people, there's some people I can send them an email with 2 sentences in it, and that's all I need to send, and I'm going to get them to donate. And there's other people where, okay, I gotta send them the flyer, and I gotta, put all this information together and give them all the stats and give them all the, and so knowing that is super powerful, because I can manage my time better. Like, this guy, I got to give him the whole booklet on it. This guy, I just got to go and ask him and look him in the eye and shake his hand, and I'm done. So it's powerful stuff, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, Dave,
I learned a lot.
I have a question for you. Maybe we'll wrap up with this now, unless Mark's got another question. Our whole platform is here to help people, inspire them. I hope they'll come away with one thing that they could take and at least look into or apply. In business and dealing with business people, what is the number one thing that you would think causes people not to build their business or live their business to their fullest potential? What would be the one thing, maybe two things that, and we
Oh
can
boy. Well, I think one of the things is setting aside time to plan. And business owners are always like, I want to do the thing and I want to roll up my sleeves, and I'm really good at fixing cars, or I'm really good at painting houses, or I'm really good at making bread, or whatever it is that they do, or cooking, whatever. And they like to do that thing that they're so good at. But you have to understand as a business owner that you got to step away from that, and you have to work on your business, and you have to make sure your business is sound. Otherwise, you just have a job. And you can go anywhere and bake bread, or you can go anywhere and fix cars. If you've committed to own a business. So in order to do that, you have to make sure that your business works without you. And you also have to make sure that your business has a direction and it has a vision for where it's going to go. And you've got to break that down. So we talk about that in the book too. We talk about, I do a 1, 3, and 90 thing. And so basically it's, you want to have 3 goals over 90 days that you accomplish. And then you also want to have your annual goal. So you kind of break it down into quarterly chunks. So, you go out a year and, okay, what do you want to be in a year? And then break it down into your quarters and then go from there. And it's powerful, when you do that, and you don't want to do more than 3 major objectives in a period, because people start to tune them out. If you go into your team and you're like, hey, we're going to do these 12 things in the next 3 months, they're all going to kind of walk out of the office and shake their heads and go, that ain't happening. So keep it realistic and like they say, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. So little bites, and you can make a big difference over a long run.
Wow. Well, Dave, great advice there.
Appreciate it. That was my mic drop. I dropped the mic.
That truly was. That was very well stated. Yeah. Yep.
Well, Dave, I know we, under our contract, I got blue M&Ms in the green room. We're just going to hang in here for a little bit.
Velvet blue. Gotta love it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you carving time out of your busy schedule last Friday and today.
Thank you.
We're here to support you and what you stand for as a business leader, and what you're doing with the cause with Operation Finally Home. That separates you from a lot of other business people. You're doing it for the right reason, and we're here to support you on that. We'd love to have you come on as a guest in the future as well.
Sure, absolutely.
And because there's some great principles in here we could really
Right.
delve into.
Yeah, we can just talk about the book. Yeah. And I do a podcast too about home building as well. So that's something fun that I do too. And we didn't really talk about that, but yeah, glad to share that as well if that's of interest. But yeah, I'm always glad to dive deeper into some of the things in the book here. And it's been neat. I've already had people reaching out and, hey, I'm doing this and it's working great. And that's really what I want. What I'd love to hear is have people come back to me and say, this book, I'm applying and it's making a difference. And thank you. And I can't wait to see when people come to me and say, David, you wouldn't believe what happened. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't. I knew you could do that.
All right. Well, great, Dave. I'm going to put you in the back room, and Mark and I are going to wrap it up. And I know Mark's going to be throwing his mask and his chest vest on. And
yep. Have a good
one. Can't wait.
Call a clean game.
I will. Oh, yeah.
Well, Mark, I know you got to run. In final closing, any comments you want to make?
I enjoyed David immensely. I love his cause. And, I know it's an overused word, but he definitely exudes passion and drive. And it's refreshing to see a young person like that out there, knocking it down. And, hey, I'm definitely, now I have to get the book, I definitely have to check it out. So I can, get a leg up here and like really go and delve into what he's talking about. But I just thought it was very enlightening, engaging, most important of all, educational as to what he's doing out there in the building business. So I could see where he's a cut above the rest, particularly where you live. There's no doubt in my mind. He's well known.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks. And again, Dave, thanks much. We are going to wrap it up. Stay tuned. Mark, who's going to be our guest next week? Who's going to be our...
Let me see. Is next week the is the 29th, right?
Yes.
There's this guy named Ken Walls.
What's his name?
Grow Live Academy. Yeah. I don't know. He hands these out if you get involved. Thursday nights, he has like a get together of the minds. No, Ken Walls, Grow Live Academy, a very unique individual indeed. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to learn about Ken's story. He's written a book as well. And Ken will, share his background with you and his passion with you. And what I like about Ken, I always kiddingly say this. He reminds me of someone that's in a revolving door trying to find himself in a good way, And his Grow Live Academy is, it's definitely a plus. And if you're thinking about live streaming, you need to check it out. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you can reach out to Mark or I, and we can get you all the information necessary. There's 3 new currencies in business today. Those that aren't potting or live streaming, using video, and to build relationship in business, they're not going to succeed at the highest levels. So if anybody wants to know about Ken Walls and what we're doing here, it's changed how I do business in a big way. So
yeah, and if you get involved, you get one of these too. Look, your name's on it, and then you can go over here and it says Grow Live. There it is. See?
Yeah. So, well, Mark, make them hit.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully I don't get hit as well, but I can't guarantee that. That's all part of the game. So, but thank you once again, everybody that came on board, from Charles to Ted to Mr. Eric Bam to Ernest, Sandy. Thank you guys for sharing, and being here. Appreciate you.
What's your closing that you do on your show?
Be a leader, be a friend. Most important of all, be of service.
All right. Thank you much. We are signing out. God bless everybody. We'll see you next week.